On the night of August 22, 2025, what should have been an ordinary light rail ride in Charlotte turned into a nightmare that left a young woman dead and an entire community searching for answers. The victim was 23-year-old Iryna Zarutska, a Ukrainian refugee who had come to the United States with her family in 2022. Like so many others fleeing the war, she believed America could be a place of safety, opportunity, and peace. Friends and family describe her as warm, hardworking, and ambitious. She was taking English classes, saving money, and preparing to pursue her dream of becoming a veterinary assistant. Her uncle said she was the glue of the family, the person who kept everyone together. She had a boyfriend. She had recently gotten her first car, and she was slowly piecing together the kind of normal life most people take for granted. But on that August evening, everything changed in the span of less than 5 minutes. Around 9:55 p.m., Iryna boarded the LYNX Blue Line light rail after finishing her shift at a local pizza shop. She texted her boyfriend that she'd be home soon. The train ride should have been uneventful, just a short trip back toward her neighborhood, but another passenger had boarded earlier that night, 34-year-old Decarlos Brown Jr. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Surveillance video from the train showed him sitting quietly, then shifting, pacing slightly. But then, without warning and without any provocation, he pulled out a pocket knife. In a sudden, shocking burst of violence, he lunged at Iryna from behind, stabbing her 3 times, including a fatal wound to her neck. Witnesses later said there had been no interaction between them beforehand. She didn't even have a chance to defend herself. After the attack, Brown immediately exited the train, leaving Iryna bleeding and struggling to breathe. Within a minute, her life was gone. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, but it was too late. The suspect, Decarlos Brown Jr., was quickly arrested near the platform. His name was already known to law enforcement. Over the past decade, he had been arrested at least 14 times on a range of charges, from violent offenses to incidents linked to mental health crises. His family later revealed that he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and suffered from delusions. His sister reported that he often believed people were reading his mind, or that he had a chip implanted in him. At times, he refused treatment or medication. What is even more disturbing is that multiple warning signs had appeared in the years leading up to the killing. Yet, the system repeatedly failed to intervene in a way that might have prevented tragedy. His history of arrests, untreated mental illness, and escalating instability created a dangerous situation, one that Iryna became the victim of simply because she happened to share a train car with him. Authorities wasted no time in filing charges. In state court, Brown has been charged with first-degree murder. On the federal level, the U.S. Department of Justice announced additional charges: committing an act causing death on a mass transportation system. This charge is rare and severe, carrying the potential for the death penalty. Prosecutors emphasized the senselessness of the act, describing it as a random, unprovoked killing that shocked the city and struck fear into daily commuters who rely on public transit. Mental health evaluations have been ordered to determine whether Brown is competent to stand trial, but prosecutors are preparing to pursue the harshest penalties available. For Iryna's family, though, no verdict, no sentence, and no legal outcome can bring her back. When surveillance footage of the attack surfaced, showing just how sudden and brutal it was, the public reaction was intense. The video spread quickly online, igniting outrage, grief, and debate. People questioned why there was no security presence in the train car, why a man with a known history of violence and mental illness was allowed to roam free, and why public transit systems so often seem unprepared for unpredictable threats. Thousands of residents took to social media, demanding answers from city officials. To them, Iryna's death represented not just a tragic crime, but a systemic failure of public safety and mental health care. Her uncle spoke out publicly, urging leaders to fix the gaps in the system and warning that what happened to his niece could have happened to anyone. "She didn't deserve this," he said, his voice heavy with grief. "Nobody deserves this." City leaders responded with promises of reform. Officials proposed increasing the number of uniformed security officers on light rail trains, expanding fare inspections, and improving safety protocols. But many in the community criticized these steps as being reactive, coming only after tragedy had already struck. For them, the case highlighted long-standing issues: an underfunded mental health system, lack of accountability in the justice system, and inadequate protection on public transit. Commentators asked difficult questions. How do we balance civil liberties with public safety? What should be done when someone refuses mental health treatment but poses a danger to others? And why do reforms so often come after innocent lives are lost instead of before? At the center of all this debate is the memory of Iryna Zarutska. Too often, stories like hers become headlines for a week, only to fade as news cycles move on. But behind the headlines was a young woman whose life embodied resilience. She had survived the trauma of war, rebuilt her life in a new country, and held on to dreams of a future career, a family, and stability. Those who knew her described her as hardworking, kind, and determined to make something of herself. Her boyfriend, devastated by the loss, has said he still expects to see her walk through the door. Her family, still grieving, continues to call for changes that might protect others. The tragedy of Iryna's death forces us to confront uncomfortable realities. Public transportation should be safe. Refugees fleeing conflict should find security in the countries they resettle in. People living with severe mental illness should receive consistent, effective care, not be left to deteriorate until violence erupts. And our communities should never allow repeated warning signs to go ignored. Iryna's story shows what happens when those expectations collapse. As this case moves toward trial, there will be more legal hearings, more headlines, and more debates. But beyond the courtroom, the real measure of justice will be in what changes afterward. Will Charlotte, and cities like it, invest in meaningful transit safety reforms? Will our society finally address the failures of the mental health system? Or will Iryna's death become just another cautionary tale, remembered for a time and then forgotten? For now, her family asks that she be remembered not only for the way she died, but for the way she lived. She was young, hopeful, and full of dreams, the very image of why people seek a better life. Let her story serve as a reminder of our shared responsibility to protect the vulnerable, to demand accountability, and to insist on safety in our communities. Because if we do nothing, tragedies like this will keep happening. Iryna Zarutska's life was stolen in an instant, but her story does not have to end here. It can be a call to action, to demand safer transit, better mental health care, and stronger systems that prevent violence before it happens. She believed in a future worth building. The question is whether we will honor that belief by building it.